These could be crucial days for Ukraine's future. The Americans are still seeking peace and negotiating with Kiev and Moscow on the terms for ending the bloody fighting. The U.S. media has published 28 points that are supposed to be a peace plan, but as it turns out, they are still under discussion. Poland is also mentioned. The 28 points have caused a great deal of emotions. The American website Axios, which published them, called them the American Peace Plan for Ukraine, sparking a flood of accusations and speculation.
So they have been engaged with both sides, and these talks are continuing. As always, I'm not going to litigate the details of this plan as it's ongoing and it's in flux.
The fact that this is not a finished plan, but rather a working draft that is being developed, is indicated by Ukraine's response. Ukrainian President Zelensky met with a high-level U.S. delegation in Kiev yesterday, and today he stated clearly, "This is one of the most difficult moments in our history. The pressure on Ukraine is now one of the heaviest. Ukraine may now face a very difficult choice, either the loss of dignity or the risk of losing a key partner. Either 28 difficult points or an extremely difficult winter, the most difficult, and additional risks." Information published by the Axios portal would indicate, on the one hand, a guarantee of security and enormous economic support for Ukraine, including money from frozen Russian assets, and on the other hand, major concessions by Ukraine, including territorial concessions and renouncing NATO membership. This is a very disturbing issue, but realistically speaking, the only chance for Ukraine to regain these territories would involve a massive operation carried out by Ukraine, comparable to those in the first or second phase of the war, and the Ukrainian army cannot afford this at the moment. From Poland's perspective, the statement about the deployment of European fighter bases in our country is noteworthy. This has sparked numerous comments and voices of outrage, including from Polish Prime Minister Tusk, but nothing is known about this subject except for this enigmatic statement in a publication on one website concerning an unofficial draft document. The problem with interpreting such leaks, which seem to be confirmed at the moment, is that we are faced with a choice. Should we comment on the media hysteria that always erupts when Trump or members of his administration make gestures towards Putin, or should we comment on the reality of these proposals and how realistic it is that they could end this war? What is a fact, however, are Donald Trump's recent words and clear declaration during Polish President Karol Nawrocki's first official visit to Washington, D.C., about strengthening the American presence in Poland.
I think so. I mean, do you know something I don't? I don't know. Yeah, we're very happy. If anything, we'll put more there if they want. But they've long wanted to have a larger presence. We have some countries that have more, not too many, but no, they'll be staying in Poland.
There is indeed a continuation of the idea, which is present not only in President Trump's statements during President Nawrocki's visit to Washington, that even the forces in Poland may be increased rather than reduced, but there is also a statement that European fighter jets will be moved to Poland, and the idea that American bases will be moved from Germany to Poland is constantly being raised in circles close to American diplomacy, with whom I sometimes talk. Although the European Union's position on this issue has little impact on reality, the head of EU diplomacy, Estonian Kaja Kallas, when asked about U.S. attempts to end the conflict, unequivocally supported them.
We are supportive of any plan that brings about just and lasting peace. As for the peace plan we understand that President Zelensky has been presented with, we have always said that any peace plan to work, it has to be with Ukraine and with the Europeans on board.
Despite enormous efforts on the front lines, Ukraine is weakening, with the lack of soldiers being the main problem. Recently, Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko even called for a reduction in the draft age, but this was met with criticism from the government. Ukraine's situation is not helped by the recent corruption scandal, which has also affected Ukrainian President Zelensky.